byte codes are just printable ASCII. Recently, a similar thing, but with an enormous amount of overkill, has been done by this academic group. They actually not only made it printable, they made it sort of indistinguishable from English text by assembling those printable instructions into words, English words, then compensating for the side effects of those instructions, and the whole thing took hours, many hours on a cluster to fit the purpose of that shellcode. And in the end, you have a short essay that kind of sort of makes, well, no, it doesn't make sense. Yes, it does actually, well, it's more like a postmodern thing. But it is actually a runnable shellcode, which blunders in doing what it does, but gets there. So you can make data look like, you can make code look like data, you can make data look like code. If you have to throw, if you throw enough computational power at it, it's possible to obfuscate things to hell. But nevertheless, normal code, normal data that even malcode that is in commercial production doesn't have to do that as an engineering necessity. And you know, you look at the shellcode out there, you don't see that much of very, very deep obfuscation there as well. So it's not all XOR, but it's certainly a lot of XOR. So we have this talk, we have the underlying classification in this paper. Well, this is really something of an academic paper. You will find it on your CDs as our white paper to go with our talk. And we try to go a lot deeper into the classification of those binary fragments. And we try to distinguish them by simple transformations that discard all but the most showing of that structure, as we, you know, those looking glasses, those magnifying glasses that we've tried to convince you work. And then for the future.
So again, just kind of the theme that there's the potential here then for automated identification. The idea of using classification techniques, clustering techniques, data mining techniques, combining all of that to combine some way to have automation helpful. You could incorporate you know, knowledge about what comes before, some probabilistic knowledge, like one data type typically follows, one primitive type typically follows another primitive type, or known offsets in a file format. It'd be nice to extend the set. And I like the idea of memory map, a tool that you can just pour any binary at, and it'll give you its best guess at what the map is, preferably with a plug-in architecture. So we're going to be wandering around Black Hat and DEF CON. We welcome feedback. I think it'd be interesting, some of those people have obfuscated shellcode, like those English shellcode. I think it'd be fun to see what that looks like. I haven't done that, but I bet it would show kind of this hybrid characteristic of the machine code view and the and what ASCII looks like. So it could be interesting for someone who wants to take a look at that. So if the white paper, we actually put a lot of thought and effort into that. So it should be on the CD. If not, we're happy to get it to you. We'll have it up on the web shortly. And then there's some our set of CDs, again, should be on the web, on the disk. That has the slides, so you don't have to copy it down. But we've been working this theme for a couple of years now, and this is the latest evolution of where it is. So there's some previous work that might be interesting. The binviz tool that we used, the source code and executable should be on your CD. If not, we'll have it up on the web shortly. And I wanted to point out that Marius, and I can't pronounce his last name, Wishy, has done some work extending binviz, an earlier version of it, as a Google Code project, so to work cross-platform. Was his intent. I'm not sure where it stands, and I haven't personally used it, but I did want to tell you that's out there. We would also like to thank our co-authors on the white paper. And with that, did you want to invite people to come and take questions? Okay, let's go ahead and take questions.
Yep.
You're defining primitives, and you're showing how those visually are coming out. Is there any interest, or you have future research towards finding the easily definable structures within the primitive? And of course, you have code block, but are you going to define like this is a type of code, and this is a different type of code, or this is different C, but now all of a sudden we have blocks that are written in assembly?
That's quite possible, yes. We tried to isolate the purest, what we judge to be the purest examples, but certainly, as with your typical biological classification, as it used to be done before you could actually sequence DNA, the boundaries are blurry. And you can define subspecies. In fact, you can get in the fight with other biologists over whether this is a subspecies or just a local variety. So what we wanted to do was to basically give you the tools to try looking at whatever data you are working with, so that you would develop this intuition for what the basic types are and what they look like in those plots that suppress out most of their structure but keep something that's characteristic of that particular type, like the digraph or like the zip thing. Yes?
One thing that'd be interesting to see, so a lot of malware tends to inherit from its predecessors. Something which release code. It would be really interesting to see a holistic tree based on this. Essentially the inheritance of the taxonomy of malware.
Yes. So I know this is a wonderful question. It has finally propagated to the larger academic mindset that much of the code that is written now is actually written by mutation of existing code. And Alva Couch has a really nice article in the Usenix login on programming with ritual and alchemy, which is a wonderful name, which is basically, you get some code off of the web, as an example, you paste it in. It kind of works. You go on the web, for example, for how to fix it so that it actually does work. And this is as removed from good practices as possible. This is as removed from what people actually teach as good practices as possible. However, he found himself doing that with a particular version of Hadoop that they wanted for a research paper, and so hence the programming with ritual and alchemy. So there is quite a lot of code floating around, and there are better metrics than just mutual compression to throw at it. In fact, I think I know a thesis that is looking, a student who is looking into this in his thesis. I'm not sure how much I can say, but if you are interested in this, please contact me. I'll put you in contact with them. But definitely, there is a lot of mutation of code going on through us cut and pasting humans.
Well, what we've done is up to 24 bits, plotting, well, there's a view in there, red, green, and blue to a given, so the first 8 bits is to red, the second 8 bits is to green, and then the last 8 bits is blue. We haven't tried above that, but I think ideally we'd write, I think where we're heading with, I think where we're heading with this is something that can handle anything from 1 bit up to n bytes, right? And you can change the views to look at whatever layer you want, and because it isn't an 8-bit boundary world, and it would be nice to be able to tune, set arbitrary boundaries as you explore these things.
I do you mean like the other graph? I mean, like if you had a graph of like the position, like y being the numerical value of that 32 an integer. If you try that, you can get some interesting patterns with pointers.
Yes. So we were looking into this, and we were looking into what may be offsets as well. We applied this to captured memory on Solaris, as it happened, because of dtrace. It's very fun, and there are definitely structures there. They are not the primitive structures in that they're not local. They're, it's hard to just take a snapshot of a piece of memory, a small piece of memory, and suppress it down to something like the digraph and see them. But there is definitely a structure, and you can see heaps, for example, they stand out. You can see slabs, they stand out. Let's see. I should have given. I will put the pointer to that project, to that student. Again, it's a student project. I will put that project pointer to that project online. So yeah, it's. We hesitated to bring that here because, first of all, it doesn't really fit with the binary, with the primitive fragments kind of thing. And secondly, there are other people like Dennyquist looking at graphs per se. So if you look at his recon talk or his previous recon talk or his talk here, he used a hypervisor to look at graph structures that you get to see at runtime. And pointers actually do play a role. All righty then. Well, yes?
Talk a little bit about using it to analyze network packets, but you didn't really show how to use the tool to do that.
That would be the rainfall visualization that Greg came up with. Yes.
So we have done this for network packets as well. The project's older, so it was the RUMINT tool, R-U-M-I-N-T, has a view that will allow, that's where that one picture was generated. It has probably about 20 different views. I haven't worked on it in about 2 years. But it'll handle, well, I switched from network packets over to binaries, so it kind of evolved from there and went down this binary path. But it's out there and the source code's out there too, and it has a variety of different windows in there.
So the problem there is that with the packet, it's hard to determine what the peer group is. So for entropy measures to work, for example, you need to take a distribution. So taking a distribution over a single packet doesn't seem to work so well. So you need to get some idea of the session, but in fact, you're trying to discover what the session is. And so it's a little bit more tricky. But we're definitely planning to do something along these lines later. Let's see how successful we'll be. All right. Well, we're out of time. If you're interested in a graduate degree that disguises hacking as research, as academic research, consider Dartmouth. Consider our lab at Dartmouth. Well, here we go.